everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I'm back from Australia. It was very fun, a great experience. I really enjoyed my time there. In fact, I was able to teach several classes using the Cutie frame and the domestic machine. It was so much fun. I got to see Melbourne, Australia, and it's a great place to visit, so if you ever have the chance, head on over. But I wanted to talk about our community of quilting, quilters out there, and we have a Facebook group, and you can join us on Facebook and make your own comments and everything. So join us with Grace Company Quilting on Facebook. Now, if you're not a big fan of Facebook, we have other places that you can see what's going on, what we're working on, and what we're posting, and that's Instagram. So if you like Instagram, check out what Grace Company is doing at the sign Grace Company Quilting for Instagram, and then TikTok. You can also see what's going on TikTok. They're fun little videos that you can just peruse and look through, and that TikTok is at Grace Company. Well, join our fastest growing, our largest growing community, and that's our home-based quilter community. And if you want to see where to join that, and really, I really encourage you to join this group, is to go to our website. That's graceframe.com. Check out the home-based quilter, and then click on Join the Community. Once you click on that, it asks you to join the group, so click on and join the group. And they are just a fabulous group of quilters that will help you with your tips, tricks, and it's places that you can post your stories, what you're working on, and it's a big community right now and ever growing. So please join us on our community and help us grow and become even larger. Okay, based on your comments last week, it was a great opportunity for me to answer some of the questions that you had, and you were a little disappointed that I already had the quilt. It's a big quilt on the frame, so I'm going to show you how I placed it on the frame and how I made the adjustments. So let me talk about what I did to make it a little easier for me to transport it to the frame. So I laid out my backing. I made my backing nice and smooth. Now, if you cannot get down on the ground, or if you don't have space, you could use a table or a bed. And you just lay out your backing, but mark your center. So I marked my center on my backing, and I pinned my leader cloth to it. And the reason I pinned my leader cloth to it is that leader is that little extra extension, because I want to quilt all the way to the edge of my quilt top. I want to have that, and I didn't really think I had enough backing to accommodate that, so that's when I'm using the leader. Now, you don't necessarily need to use a leader cloth. However, I would encourage you to start using it. And you'll think, oh, it's bulky, it has this big tuber in it, and the reason it does is it makes it easier for you to start rolling. And also with the leader, like I said, it gives you that little extra that you need so that you can quilt all the way to the edge of your quilt. So let me show you how I turn it on. So I put my backing out and I laid it nice and flat. I marked my center. Well, what do you do with the batting? The batting gets really sticky and it sticks to it. So I rolled up my batting in a roll, okay? And I marked my center on my top and the bottom of my batting. I took the roll and put it onto my backing and unrolled it on top, making sure that I didn't have any wrinkles. If you unroll it, it's easier to unroll it than unfold it. I found that folding it makes it a little awkward. So roll it up, and if you want to use those swimming tubes to roll it up and then unroll it on, great idea. They're just really big and nice. Okay, then I did the same thing with my top. But notice I put my top down just a little bit further down on my batting. So you're always making your batting and backing wider and longer to accommodate all that shrinkage that you're going to get when you're quilting. Now, a lot of us think, oh man, I'll just make my backing and my batting and my top all the same size. Can't do that. We learned that a long time ago when we were making hand quilting frames, that it's the backing that absorbs all that quilting, and whatever you're quilting, even your hand quilting, your sewing, there is fabric shrinkage. And we have to accommodate for that, and that's why we make the backing and the backing wider and longer. Okay, so to bring it up to the frame, what I did is, you'll notice that this is a big quilt. It's a really big quilt to handle. So I rolled it up, and I put it lengthwise rather than widthwise, because it was just easier for me to move across it and accommodate. So I brought it over to the frame. So notice it's big long quilt. I rolled it all up, brought it over to the frame, and now I have positioned. If you have channel locks, this is a good time to use your channel locks to lock your machine. And I'm like to quilt left to right. That's how we read, that's how we write, and that's how our brains kind of work. So I positioned it to the left, and I kind of locked it into place. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the leader through the arm of the machine. My foot is up, and I'm just going to pull it across. And with my machine positioned all the way to the left, I know I want to just a little bit. I have positioned it. I want to move it forward as far as I can. All right, and now, if you will, kind of work with just this little section. So I want to be able to quilt all the way to the top. So I'm just going to work with my machine. Hold it right here. I'm going to use my hip right here to hold it into place so that I could work on making my adjustments. And notice I'm just working across here. And I want to be able just to quilt this little border here. Okay, that's what I'm going to, maybe these first two borders, that's enough that I need. And if I'm moving it back and forth, okay, that's good enough. I might be able to even quilt the third border, but I'm not going to count on that. I want to quilt this border right here and this one. That's what will fit within the throat space of my machine. Now, if I had a longer arm machine, yes, I would be able to extend this part of my frame and quilt a larger area, but I don't. So I'm going to work with what I have, and yeah, that's just fine. Okay, so notice how I've pinned it. I've pinned it straight across. You don't want to pin it like this because you want your clamps to easily slide over onto your, what we call our take-up rail. So I have positioned this just right so I can get all the way to the edge, and I feel like I can move it to the back. And now, as I clip it on, notice what's going to happen. I'm going to lose just a little bit, and it's going to pull it up. So I just want to make sure, again, that I'm pulling it forward. Okay, so that's good enough, and I'm able to move across the top. And I probably don't have it pinned on as straight as it could be, but that's okay. I'm free motion quilting. I'm not doing an edge-to-edge design. And so if I was, I would try to get it on a little straighter, but you just, with the automation though, what's really cool is that it will adjust to how your quilt is positioned. So notice now I need to roll it up, and now clamp these in place. Make sure that you get all your clamps on there, like I said last week. Really important because they will grab and catch, especially if you have a base on your machine. And having these leaders just really helps you start rolling. Now these straps are adjustable to adjust for the size of your quilt. All right, so notice now I have it on. And see, it's pretty smooth, but now I want to take up the bulk of this. So what I'm going to start doing is I started my roll, and I'm just going to roll it up. And sometimes I will even put it up here across the top of my handles just to kind of help me as I'm quilting. If you'll do that, just use what you have, and you're going to be good to go. And you'll notice that it's a little sloppy on this side, but as I start quilting and going across, it'll get a little less sloppy. Okay, so now I'm to the point where I want it to kind of pull down this direction. So I'm going to put my front clamps on. I'm going to make sure that the Cutie name is so I can read it. I don't want to put it on upside down because I don't want to take it on and off. Okay, I want to show you my little trick for taking these off, all right? If you'll use your thumb as leverage, okay? If you'll position your thumbs right here on the pole and pull up on each side, you can pull those off real easily. So that's my little trick to pulling these, because they do clamp kind of hard. So if you're having a hard time, use your thumbs as leverage and just pull up, just like that. And it'll make it a lot easier for you. So now I've positioned that on there. I have this little thread that's bugging me. And I'm just going to put my other one on. Okay. All right. Now I'm just going to make sure that these are all clamped into place. And that's how I put the quilt on the Cutie frame to sew my first little section. I've adjusted my straps so that they're going to hold the backing up out of the way and give me enough room, but they're tight enough to just hold this bulk up. Now you can see that if I left the straps dangling, what would happen is they will catch on your machine or your carriage or your frame. And please make sure that you're using the straps like they're intended. There is a little piece on the strap right here. That is to hold your excess of your elastic. Now, I don't know how many of you have sewed your elastic onto the back of your quilt as you're moving it and you've had to unpick it. Well, these are intended to help you manage that excess. So if you'll put it forward like this, okay, and you'll slide it through, and then this little extra like this, okay? If you'll do that, you won't sew them in there. Every show we go to, because we get a little sloppy and a little lazy, we don't manage our fabric straps, and no kidding, I have to unpick the elastic from it. So please use the elastic straps and that little piece how it was intended. Okay, so we're ready to go. Okay, so last week, I showed you how to mark the quilt. Well, notice I've repositioned it and it's a little different placement, so I'm just going to raise my tape up just a little bit so I'm not going to hit it and to accommodate. But really, I do have an established area that I can reach and it's all the way. But notice it's kind of at an angle, so I want to make sure that I can reach it. So let's move it across the quilt and make sure that I can reach this whole area all the way across. Now, all my stuff that I've used to catch it, but I'm able to at least quilt this little top border and this little inside border. So that's what I wanted to do, and I'll move this down so I don't hit the side rail. Okay, so now I've marked, okay, and now I've put my quilt on. Make sure you're doing those things and you'll have a much better experience. The other thing that you wanted to know, you wanted to see how I was making my designs and what I was doing. And so let's talk about that. All right, so I love our True Cut rulers. And the reason is they have the holes in them and they sit flat on the surface of your quilt, and you can really hold them into place. I use them all the time. The holes actually make it easier for you to mark. So if you need to mark a 1/4 inch in, that's all I would do is I'd angle it on there and mark. And I'd use a white chalk pencil, make sure it's sharpened, and I just go right along here. And that is my 1/4 inch, which is going to accommodate my binding, okay? So I just mark along there, and that is my marking line all the way across my quilt. That's one thing that I really like, because I don't have room to fit it up here. So if you had a smaller ruler, you could do it that way. But with our True Cut rulers, that's what's the beauty about them, is that you're able to mark, and you can use these little holes to help you mark. They also help you stabilize the ruler, and they also help you line the ruler. As I was teaching a long time ago some kids to quilt, they were really having a hard time marking their 1/8 inches. And so with the holes, it allows them to see it a little better on the fabric so they can align it from the bottom to the top, and they get a nice straight cut. That was the other reason that you have the holes. All right, so now you know that story. Let's talk about our designs. So I was thinking about what kind of a design. I didn't want to use the same old up, down, up, down. I wanted to add a little element of fun and whimsy, and I came up with this little heart. And I know it's not my idea, okay? I know others have used it, but it was how to quilt this heart. And so I just made it a little practice, and what I'm going to do is show you how I'm making this heart right here, and then we're going to do a little printable, and I'm going to take you to the website and show you how to print off those downloads so that you know how to access them and find them more easily. So I'm just going to use my ruler here, and I'm going to kind of make a border. So I'm just going to make it, I know my border is probably, let's see, it's going to be a 2-inch border by the time it's done. But that's okay. I'm just going to, I want you to be able to see. So I'll do a little line here, and then I'll go 2 inches this way, and line it up, and kind of make a 2-inch border. All right, and then I want to make sure that I'm coming across and doing the same thing. So I'll make a line across here. It's a little harder to do when you are on air, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. All right, so let me get rid of this line here, and there's my border. And it's not bad. Okay, so there's my border. I hope you can see that. All right, right there. All right, so I kind of want to know where my center is, so I'm just going to mark, because it kind of helps me have an idea of where I want to start and stop. So in this one, I want to make sure that I'm making them as close to even in size as possible. So I just kind of want to make my squares, and once I've just made a couple of them, just make sure that they're pretty close to even. All right, and I know this is a really rough drawing, but this will really help you when it comes to starting your quilt, and it will translate really well. So we're going to draw it on the quilt as well, but I wanted to show you how I did it. So for this one and this one, they're going to be upside down. So I'm going to start in the center right here, okay? That's my mark, and this is my mark on my corner. All right, so I'm going to come around, start here at the center at this point. I'm going to come around, and I'm going to stop. And come back around. That kind of gives me my little ribbon design. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come back around, and then I'm going to stop and come back around there. So as I hit that place, I want to come back this direction and hit this point here, okay? So I'm going to hit this point here, and I'm going to come around and hit this point. So I want to come back around here, and I'm going to come back up and hit this point, and I get a lot smoother as I go around, okay? And then you're just going to keep going. So you're going to come back, hit this point, and then you're going to, as you come back around, you're going to want to come down, and you're going to want to hit the center of this point, and then come back up and back up. So we have some cross lines, but that's okay. On this pattern and this design, it's going to look fine. I'm just going to go up, down, up, down. So I hit this point. So now I want to come back up, and I want to start here, and I want to come around just like that. And just keep going back and forth, okay? Or you could come around here, and then you could butt it up and go like this. So you'll find your own method of how you want to do it, okay? Sometimes it's easier just to start back at the top, which is fine. You know, do what works best for you as you're quilting. So now let's draw it on my quilt, okay? So let me pull the machine out of the way now, all right? Because I'll have to rethread it and everything so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put my machine down here. I'm going to make my squares square, and I'm just going to mark on my quilt, okay? And you could do it all the way across. You could measure using your ruler to make sure you get them nice and exact and even. Sometimes the fun of it is just The little inconsistencies, I really think highlight it a little more, but if you are one of those people that have to have it nice and exact, make sure that you're making your marks, okay? And then we will do it up here, and we'll just keep going across and keep going across. And then by the time we get to the other corner, we're gonna have to make some adjustments, which I know. But if you keep it as consistent as possible, you won't have any problems. So now I'm just gonna draw on this so that I have an idea of the direction I'm gonna go. It's just another way for me to use my muscle memory. I'm gonna come back and around like this, and I wanna come in and make my hook a little bit more. And now I'm just gonna come down here, and I'm going to go up and around, do my corner. I wanna make sure that when I do my corner design, that I don't go past where my binding is going to be. Otherwise, it's going to be in there, and hopefully it's going to look really nice. So as I come down, I can come back up here, and then go around, and then go around, and then I want to come back up here, and I can just go around and around. And I notice I didn't hit my center mark very well on that one, so I'm just going to practice that. Okay. So let's give it a try. I'm using the machine and the foot pedal. Let me get it threaded and ready to go. You can always ask me questions. I'm always here and available for you. I want to help you learn quilting. And you know, my email is just an email away. And it's Karla with a K, K-A-R-L-A @graceframe.com. Please send me your questions. Please let me help you. And by you asking me these questions, you help a lot of other quilters out there because they're probably thinking the same thing, and it's something that I haven't thought of. So let's give it a try. We're gonna always pull up our bottom thread, all right? And like I said, this week I'm using the foot pedal. And notice my handles are kind of wobbly, so I wanna make sure that my handles are stable, okay? And they're out far enough that I can quilt. So I'm going to position my foot pedal because I'm not really used to standing and quilting. I mean, I've done it a few times. So we're gonna give it a try, okay? I don't know, let's try it standing first, okay? I'm going to position my foot right here where I want to start. I'm going to use my needle up, needle down. So to pull up my bottom thread, because I want to know where it's located, and I want to make sure that I have enough excess that when I push it in the down position, and I don't want it to be knotted up, because that will cause problems, or twisted. So I'm going to just hold my thread off to the side, use my needle up, needle down, and I want to position it in by the corner of the inch. Okay, there we go. And I'm just going to pull up my thread. Now you're probably wondering, oh, get that fabric out of the way. Well, that's my fabric to test the tension. You never know what little gremlins come around as you're quilting. And okay, so notice what I want you to notice what I did with my foot pedal. So notice how I position my foot pedal. It's on the side. That's because on these Jukies, they have a thread cutter right here at the front. I hate hitting that thread cutter, and it's more comfortable for me just to position my foot like this and push down on it. And we're just gonna go for it and enjoy the quilting process. So I wanted to make sure that my thread was underneath it, but I might not worry about that so much. Okay. So now I'm just going to remember my movements. I'm going to try and get my speed up, okay? Because it's not stitch regulated. So I'm in control of the speed of the machine by pushing on the foot pedal. All right, and many of you probably think that as a challenge. I will rise to the challenge and try to adjust it. Now these Jukies are fast machines, so I want to make sure that I get a feel for it, and as I get going, so my movements, as I'm doing it, reflect, okay, and I'm going to come back around my speed of my machine. So I'm just going to come around and give it a little bit more speed, but see, that wasn't very good. So I will probably be unpicking that. I'm just telling you. And then as I come down here, I want to hold this, okay? So I'm just going to hold this, okay? I'm going to give it a little bit more speed, come back around. So that first one was kind of, I didn't like it. but I'm just going to come right around here. But that's the beauty of this. I'm going to come back here, all right, and then I'm going to come around here. I'm just going to work on this and get it the way I want. I'm used to a little bit longer arm machine, and I'm used to a stitch regulator, so I'm just going to come. Notice what I did, I had my pin there, so that wasn't good. I'm getting a little better. All right, I'm getting a little better. Still, I'm going to unpick this one and redo it. I may not unpick these two. I'm not sure. It's a good thing it's green thread on the blue fabric because I really don't want you to see this one, and I really didn't come out far enough. I didn't make my adjustments like I needed to. Mark your quilts. Practice those designs. The more you practice, the better it will reflect. Now, as I'm going along, by the time I get to the end of this first row, I will have this down. So give yourself a chance to not be perfect at first, but enjoy the process. And don't worry about the little things. Now, if you're a perfectionist, unpick it. I mean, these are large enough stitches that you can unpick it and you can start all over. Like I said, I am going to unpick this one, and I may unpick this one. I really like my corner one. It looks pretty good, and this one. So these two are the ones that I was really struggling with. They're the upside down ones. So that makes me know that I need to go back and work on my drawing, on my pattern, and the upside down ones, transitioning from the up to the down position. Work on it, have fun with it, and play with it. So let me show you how to download our patterns and things like that. I know a lot of you have a hard time finding them, so please go to our website. That's graceframe.com. Make sure you're registered and that you've logged in. Find the events schedule. Click on that, find Tuesdays with Grace. Then you'll see it, pull up the page, we'll see what's next, watch all the episodes, join us on social media, and then see more from Grace. So let's check the schedule. If you click on check the schedule, you can scroll down, you can see everything I'm working on. So let's go to the I Rule, because I did do a download for that. So if you click on I Rule and you scroll down on that, you will see a download. All you have to do is click on that download. It will download it to the bottom of your screen, and then you can print it off. So make sure that you're accessing all this wonderful free information to help you quilt. We'll have the little designs so that you can practice it, and we'll give you a lot of inspiration. So check out Tuesdays with Grace, the events, and find those downloads. There's a lot of them out there for you to enjoy. Okay, so next week, I'm going to introduce what we call is a stitch regulator. Rather than using the foot pedal, which can be a little bit of a challenge and adjustment for you, the stitch regulator is plugged into where your foot pedal port goes, and it acts as an on-off, and it keeps your stitches consistent as you're moving the machine across your quilt. So it eliminates you from having to play the guessing game of how much I'm pushing down on the foot pedal and moving the machine. So it takes that all out. So join me next time when I add the stitch regulator and show you how that works. So we're going to continue on building out this beautiful quilt and quilting it with our domestic machine. So I'm going to show you the stitch regulator. Then I've ordered a ruler base, and we're going to show you how to use a laser. So a lot of exciting things to come using the Cutie frame and our domestic machine and quilting this fun quilt, this big quilt. So join me next time, and I look forward to seeing your comments on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and please join the HBQ community and send me your questions. I'm just an email away, and I want to hear from you. I want to see what you're working on. I want to show off your progress like I like to show off mine. And next time I come back, I will have my border quilted. I'll talk about the sectioning it off, and then we'll add that stitch regulator on there. Please take care, be safe, and be happy while you're quilting, and enjoy the process. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.